Howdy, folks. It is a Tuesday. Good morning and welcome to our show today for you here on Clocking the Gallop. We've got racing out at the Vaal today, a return to the countryside track with an 8-race program, but a slight change in which track we're racing on. The Vaal main track is not ready to be raced on just yet and will only be ready next month, Lyall. So we've moved to the classic track, and hence there are a couple of scratchings. Change of track is listed as the reason for the scratching. So we're on the classic track. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Nick. And of course, what makes this card so trappy now is the fact of those draws.
Yeah.
The good draws have just become the bad draws, and that is a real worry. So we have to be very careful today.
Absolutely. There's been absolutely no rainfall in Joburg in the last week. It is sweltering hot. I think today we're going to get up to a maximum of 36 degrees at the Vaal. And as you can see, Lyall's suffering from a bit of hay fever. He hasn't got flu, but you were telling me that they're knocking down houses around you.
I mean, Nico, there's a perfectly good house right here. I can see it.
Yeah.
And they're knocking it down to build another one. I'm so confused. People have got too much money, Nico.
Yeah, people have got too much money. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Look, by the way, it's meant to be a windy day out there today. So
thank goodness.
Yourself for a bit of wind. I think it may be bringing the rain in, but it's not expected to rain today. It's because it's expected to be sunny and hot. The temperature, 36 degrees, the maximum. Penetrometer 22, and the track condition is listed as good. We'll run through the changes. Henny Grayling not riding today at the meeting, and we'll run through whatever changes we have as we go through the card. Right, let's go to the first race. Well, the first couple of races, I don't think the draws play a significant part because it's up the straight 1,000 meters. In race 1, you could scratch 11 Pom Pom Queen, and number 3 War Bonnet Creek is now ridden by Mr. Fairney. A. Fairney is the rider for the De Kock stable. Also number 6 Mon Choisi will race with earmuffs on. That's a change that's come through. Earmuffs go on that. I'll just share with you the betting, and then we'll ask Lyall for his selections. Here's the betting for the first race. And you've got Miss Soho, the money horse, from 28 to 10 to 2 to 1, and also a bit of money for Mandalay. Both of those, the fillies here, that's come into 4 to 1. Your thoughts on the first?
Well, firstly, I did make notes to myself. The fillies certainly are big runners, both of Mandalay and Miss Soho, particularly with Mandalay now being drawn okay, meaning it's not a bad draw for her, straight to the 1,000 meters here. But I'm actually leaning towards Full Go, Nico, who tops the speed rating for Billy Raters. And yes, a little bit up and down, the son of Admiral Kitten, but I like the value. I see it's 9 to 2 now. It was 6 to 1. And with Joe Gungwiza aboard, if you look at that last form line, let me get to the point here. Don't Tell Ash comes from that form line. And if you look at Mandalay was beaten by Don't Tell Ash. So for me, Full Go and Mandalay, not much between them. And then, of course, I have a lot of respect for Miss Soho. So I would go 1 and 10. And then I am interested in the first-timer, Mon Choisi. You can pronounce that for me.
Yeah, Mon Choisi. I want to tell you about
which is a beach.
Yeah, it's a beach,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was previously called Port Quinn Bay. And you might say to me, Nico, why do I know that it was previously called Port Quinn Bay? Because
why do you know that it was previously called?
We're going to buy this horse. We're going to go in partnership with Mr. Gajada, and we were going to buy this horse. And unfortunately, we ran out of time to purchase a share, but we really liked him at the sale, funny enough. And I asked James Crawford if we could buy a share. He said Mr. Gajada had absolutely no issue with us buying a share, but we just ran out of time. And therefore, I wouldn't put you off that, because I think that he went a bit shin-sore in the early part of his training career. But I think I think he might have a chance here, might have a squeak, Mon Choisi.
I'm glad you're saying that, Nico. The mare won 7 times from sprints up to 1,800 meters. This is the family of Phyllis Spiel and Miss Minva. I think this could be a player too. So I'm glad you're saying that. 1, 10, 6, and 9. Boom.
Yeah. And just quickly on number 10, Miss Soho, I want to tell you something about her. Kelsey Mayhew Munga, actually, has her very first ride in the Work Riders today. It's a very, very first ride. And from what I can gather is, they brought in that rule for all the female riders to get 1.5.
Yes.
I'm sure she's allowed that.
That's a good point.
And in that case, this horse will now carry 55.
You make a very good point, Nico.
So I would check up on that and just see what they say, because I think that Kelsey, being a female rider, is due her allowance of 1.5, which is not listed in the card. And
Yes.
I'd be checking up on that, because if that is the case, she comes in with 55 kilograms and is therefore a big runner. I'm not sure on the draw, though, drawn at 1. I don't really like those inside draws on that Vaal Classic track. So, even with your full go, I do like full go actually as well. But I think they've probably got Mandalay to beat, who has the 10 draw.
Nico, just to add on to Kelsey's ride, the blinkers go on. And I've also just heard 1 or 2 stories that she can ride, Kelsey. She knows what she's doing in the saddle. So it's a good first race.
Absolutely. It's a nice first race, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they go over there. I think those are the principal runners that we've mentioned there in our chat about that. Watch out for that first time if there is money for him, because I do know in the early part he could run, Monchoisi, and that we were certainly interested in him as a horse to purchase for our.
And sorry, one more thing. Siyabonga Mkumbuzi, what a likable young man
is he?
is.
I don't really
him
know
a few
him.
times.
Yeah.
Speaks great attitude. He wanted to come on an interview with me. He loves the camera. So hopefully the punters get more chances to see this guy. He's a bit like Tapiso Matswele. He's got a real personality.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, let's look forward to seeing how he rides that first timer of Brett and James Crawford today. Okay, that's race 1. It is the start of the bipot. Let's move to the PA start. Race 2 is off at 1:05. It's a maiden plate fillies and mares 1,000 meters. And race number 2, Queen's Navy, Alamites in front, Unshot behind. Compression Mask is on number 5, Above the World, who is one of the fancied runners. There's a bit of money for Above the World. It's 7-2, but the favorite is down at the bottom. The newcomer, number 11, War Empress, opened up 5.5 to 1, is now 2 to 1. Then we've got a Time to Flower, number 4, 28 to 10, and Above the World, number 5, at 7 to 2. And those are the principal runners over here. They're betting 12 to 1 and better. Now, a quick tidbit of information here is that after the last race, I bumped into a whole lot of jockeys on Saturday. We actually spent a bit of time upstairs in the Top Bet celebrity.
Yeah, I saw your pictures.
Did you see some of the pictures? One of the jockeys was Julius Mariba. And he's not working for the Soma Yard anymore, but he's working for the Fortune Stable now.
I've lost sound, Nico.
Can you hear me?
There we go. I lost you for a while. Put you back.
No, I was saying he's not working for the Soma Stable anymore, Julius. He's working for the Fortune Stable. And he said to me, this horse can run. He said to me, this horse can run a bit, so it can get on a bit. So I would respect the support for that. But going on the horses that have run before, which one do you prefer out of the 4 and the 5?
Well, for me, this actually was a match race. I'm going to have to chat to Ashley Fortune, because I'm not a big one for tipping first timers. So for me, number 5, Above the World, is the one I like. Marco van Rensburg, Corne Spies. Took on winners last time. That was a fantastic run behind Wings of Night. I know that she's been beaten by number 4, Time to Flower. So great respect for Time to Flower. But that last run, if he reproduces that, I don't think anyone in the field will beat him. So for me, 5 from 4. And then obviously we'll find out about number 11, War Empress. And Chili Princess, I'm not going to leave alone on debut, the daughter of Wade Winter as well. I want to see this one go down to the start.
Yeah, she's well bred too, being a daughter of What Winter. I think it does rest between the 4 and the 5. But as I say, I know the state, well, certainly the rider was pretty confident of his chances here on War Empress, and the significant support proves that. So I would wait for race time to see how these newcomers go by. But I thought that the 4 and the 5 held the race.
Which one of the 2 would you go for? 4 or 5?
No, I'm not going to choose between. I rate them pretty much of a muchness. So I'm not.
They are very close.
There's not a coffee. There's not a coffee on this one. I'm sure there'll be a later time, but I thought
we will get one.
The assessment of the second. Okay, let's move to the third. Start of the pick 6, which is a maiden plate. This changes now to 14.50, and this is where the draws play a part, as Lyall mentioned earlier, because this was originally up the straight. It's now around the turn on the classic track. Scratched here, number 9. Celtic Rush, number 5, firstly, stepping out, which is an important scratching, which would have been possibly everyone's choice. So 5 is out, 9 Celtic Rush is out. And 14 to the King is now scratched. So we have a few scratches in race number 3. Added to that, number 6, Kite Surf is now the mount of Matthew Thackeray. Number 2, Skyrunner, Alamites in front, Unshot behind. Blinkers on number 10, Insightful. And earmuffs on number 13, Raven Black. Now, Raven Black has to come from a 12 draw now. 12 out of 12. Over the 1450. That is the favorite at 9 to 10. There's been a bit of support for number 1, Big 5 for Piers Stratham, and from 7s to 4s, and so certainly money for number 15, World's Best, is the newcomer from the De Kock stable, from 8.5 to 1 to 4.5 to 1. So those are the principal money horses. Stepping out is scratch number 5. Lyall, where are you going here for your potential winner?
Well, on the Vaal proper course, I was going 5 and 13 to fight out the race. But now that we're on to the Vaal Classic, I'm going to tip number 1, Big 5, as my first selection with Piers Stratham aboard. Not the worst form lines in the world there. Yes, he's having his 19th run, but he's got Piers Stratham and that draw. And then obviously huge respect for 13, but that is going to be a cracking win from that draw. And then a lot of respect for number 15, World's Best as well. Son of Ideal World, the mare was speedy. Randall Simons rides for Mike De Kock. So for me, I'm going to go 1, 15, and I'm going to take on the odds-on favourite number 13 as my third selection.
Yeah, I'm also inclined to take on the favourite here. I'm definitely going to take on the 9 to 10 or 8 to 10 favourite now. I think there's been a bit of money for it now, or maybe the scratchings have played their part to shorten it even further. I agree with you. Big 5 has to be a massive runner, loves the classic track, runs very good races on this surface. So yeah. I think that with Piers Stratham booked for Cobus Roo, that has to be a runner. I'm quite interested in a few of them over here, and I'll be watching carefully what happens. Firstly, with number 10, Insightful. This is a son of Oratoria, well-bred, but they put the blinkers on and they put Muzzy Yeni on. Now, that for me is a very interesting booking, because Muzzy hardly rides for Clinton Binder. And, you know, that for me, I know it's a big price, Insightful, number 10 at 33 to 1. So I'm pretty interested how that goes. The other one that I was pretty interested in was number 11, Just Eminent, which is also in the region of 25 to 1. Because Craig Zaki rides for Corey Lensley. Again, not a combination you see that often, and also drawn particularly well. So I'm expecting both 10 and 11 to show improvements after their first efforts here. But that said, I'm still taking on the favourite, and I'm tipping Big 5. I'm going with you with the Big 5 selection, and I think that's the horse to beat.
Good. We agree on that perfectly.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's move on to our next race now. Race 4 is the opening leg of the first jackpot. Race 4 at 2:15 is a maiden plate for fillies and mares. The distance is 1,450 meters. And I'm going to bring you up to date with the changes here. In race 4, number 14, Primrose Path, is now the mount of Nathan Klink. And number 1, Raising a Storm, they put the blinkers on. Number 2, Memorial Day, is a Cornell collar. Compression mask on number 14, Primrose Path. So those are all the changes here. Bit of money now for the 11, Green Light Ranger, from 9 to 2 and 5 to 1 into 7 to 2. So that is possibly a weak favorite ahead of 7, Camerata, at 4 to 1, and number 2, Memorial Day. Karen's Legacy is at 5 to 1, and Wilkie's is at 7 to 1. This is another tough race, I thought.
It is, Nico. The same rule applies. First leg of the jackpot here, I was going to tip them number 7, Camerata, who's beautifully bred, from the 11, Green Light Ranger. But now with those draws, I'm throwing it on its head. I'm going 2, Memorial Day, Piers Stratham again, Stephen Moffat. I like those last 2 runs. And then number 3, Karen's Legacy, with Marco Cornet-Spies. Those are my top 2. And then we'll go, obviously, number 7, 4, and 11, which are all very poorly drawn.
Yeah, and therein lies the point that I was trying to mention with the draws as well. I've got to side with you again here on Memorial Day. I think with the draw of 4, she certainly has got a huge chance here. She's run to very good horses. In her first 2 starts, she ran to Time for Kids. In her second start to Aurora Gold. Her last run was a very good run. And I think she'll go well on this Vaal Classic track. So I'm in agreement with you with the choice of Memorial Day as my first choice. Karen's Legacy, I believe that there was lots of money for her last time out, so she's obviously showing something. Wilkie's another one, despite a very bad draw of 14. Funny enough, I thought Ultimate Iktu would run a better race here than she has done in her last couple. She hasn't been drawn well in the last 2 starts, but I thought I'd throw Ultimate Iktu in. Camerata from a terrible draw.
Good value.
You know, Camerata, if it was better draw, would probably be my first selection in the race. And then, as you mentioned, Green Light Ranger. Green Light Ranger was a Yeni on. Anything out of the newcomers? Mike de Kock's newcomer, daughter of Corio.
I did look at them, Nico. Sparkling Jubilee. The mare did win 1,400 up to 2,000 meters. I like this one, but the draw is horrendous on Davy, the poor girl. And then I looked at number 13, Linda's Legacy. The mare won 1,600 meters upwards. I looked at the family, not great yet. Corey Linksey did say nice horse, but will need the run. Also drawn wide. So as far as the first timers are concerned, I'm going to look right past them because they've all got bad draws.
Just a quick one on Sparkling Jubilee. If I remember correctly, Mike bought this for Diane on their anniversary as an anniversary present. I think it was their wedding anniversary. He bought it at one of the sales I was at, and he said he's just bought a present for his wife, Diane, on their anniversary. I think that was the source, Sparkling Jubilee. Okay, so that's race 4. If she can win from that, if she can, Nico, I was going to say, if she can win from that draw, then Mike needs to get into a minor feature coming up. Yeah, great. Right, so all said and done there, we're both agreeing that Memorial Day would be our first choice in race 4. Let's go to the second jackpot opener, race 5, a smaller field. It's a Pinnacle Stakes race at 10 to 3. It's over 2,400 meters. In race 5, there are no scratchings or jockey changes. Number 2, Imperial Ruby, and number 7, You Can't Hurry Love, both have compression masks on. Not much separating them in the betting. There's been money for Jamila, who is on an upward trajectory. She's won 4 out of her last 6 starts. She's ended up in the winner's enclosure. She is favorite. Shortens from 33 to 10 to 5 to 2. 7 to 2, number 6, Razor Hallelujah, and number 7, You Can't Hurry Love. 9 to 2, Imperial Ruby and Light of the Moon, the filly. 7 to 1, Shango, and 20 to 1 Out of Your League. Now, despite this being a small field of 7, plenty had chances.
What a great little field, this one. I spent a lot of time with this race. And eventually, I worked out that Jamila and Razor Hallelujah, there is nothing between these two. So they could dead heat. Wherever they finish, they could dead heat. Instead, I'm going number 7, You Can't Hurry Love. The question mark is the distance.
Yeah.
But wow, the form. I mean, if we go back to that run behind Razor Hallelujah, 7.5 kilograms better off for a 2 1/4 length. Razor Hallelujah, Jamila, both on top of each other. You Can't Hurry Love is weighted to beat them. And you just have to go back to the Black form line, Naval Guard form line. He can run. But obviously the 2,400. And another horse I will not be leaving out is Light of the Moon. I mean, this horse has been running in Group 2s and Group 1s. Muzieni, 56.5 kilograms, will stay all day. Big respect. So in order, I'm going 7, 4, 5, 2, and 6. I mean, number 2 is not out of it either, as you mentioned, Nick. It's a good field.
It is a good field. There's a good field of stayers. And again, it may boil down to the pace of the race. What's the pace going to be? Who's going to go and set the fractions up at front, and and which horse will get the run of the race? I believe that it's wide open. Even Out of Your League, the big outsider at 20 to 1 is capable on his day. He's a winner of the SA Derby when he was a 3-year-old.
Yep.
Plenty of them come into it. Light of the Moon enjoys, due to the conditions of the race, enjoys a weight advantage of 3.5 kilos, being a filly, the only filly in the race. So she gets a nice weight advantage too. And then your You Can't Hurry Love. And as you mentioned, Razor Hallelujah and Jamila renew rivalry. There's not much between them, and either of them could win. So I think field would adequately describe race 5. I don't want to go out of the race, and therefore we'll play that wide.
100%.
Okay, on to race 6 at 25 past 3. This is a classified stakes over 1,200 meters. Race 6, you can scratch numbers 4, Letitia's Angel, and 7, Giancarlo. Out of race 6 go those. That's the changes there. Those are the changes there for race number 6, and it's over the 1,200 meter trip. Let's go to the betting. Have a look at what's happening here. I think the changes that you see there are all because of the scratchings over here. So down the bottom, 33 to 10, back to basics and after hours. There's nothing to choose between them in the betting. Then we've got 4 to 1 Irrevocable Dream, 4 to 1 number 3, 11 to 2 the 1 Lulu's Boy, and 7 to 1 number 9 Dancing Dora. What do you make of this slot?
Yeah, a very different race now. I'm going to go Irrevocable Dream, Muzieni, Fani Bronkhorst. I think the form is good enough here. Should be very competitive. Sprinting again. Has run 5 times course and distance for for 3 places. And we'll jump from a slightly wide draw here, but that's my first selection. From back to basics, I think a big runner. I think that betting is correct. After hours, also a big runner on the last effort. And then I will include Lulu's Boy as well. The 2-horse, Montmorency, Son of Soft Falling Rain, obviously nicely bred, but I think we'll need further and we'll need the run this afternoon. So 3, 10, 11, 1, pretty much as they're betting, Nico.
Yeah, I think so. Just the comment from Billy Ratis in the front of the computer form clearly says needs further. First run for the New Yard, the ex-Terry runner now with Billy Ratis. Could be running on at the finish at 12 to 1, number 2, Montmorency. But I made it the 10, I think would be my rover here, back to basics.
Yep.
I think at the weights, he's a runner. So I went pretty much as you did. I went 10, 3, 11 and 1. So we agree on the numbers. It's definitely those.
Yeah, very similar.
Very similar numbers there. And maybe the 9 after that, Dancing Dora, but pretty much as the betting suggests in race 6. But back to basics, my rover there. Okay, let's move. By the way, there's been a scratching in that 4th race. Sparkling Jubilee, that anniversary present is scratched. So Mike doesn't want to show himself up from a 15 draw.
Yeah, I think he saw the draw. He said, no, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the story there. Race 7 is a classified stakes, again over 1,200 meters. Here you can scratch number 7, which is Earl of Cardigan. Number 9, Big City Girl, the Mount of Markov and Rensburg. And number 1, Texas Red, has a compression mask on. It's 4 to 1 the field here again. It's 1 Texas Red, 3 Great Times, 4 Admiralty Arch, and 8 Coca Hill, all vying for favoritism, which means another wide open event.
Certainly is, Nico, and it's a classified stakes, but I'm going against my own rule. I always try and tip, the best weighted horse in the race here. But I'm going with Admiralty Arch. Baron Buerter's Forslu, Pierre Stradum, drawn for 5th behind Stormy Seas, Trust the Fire, Wings of Night came out to win. That run behind Iron Tail last time was a good one as well. The draw's fine. Take that one over Great Times. Also, lovely draw and some speed. Texas Red could be anything, so I'm not going to let him get loose. And then over the page as well, I must mention number 8, Coco Hill, who is the best weighted. So I think she has to be taken seriously here. But for me, I think Admiralty Arch will be a big runner.
Yeah, no, he was once an 84 rated horse. He's now 67. Now, they put the lights out last time out. I called that race. Iron Tail literally grabbed Admiralty Arch. I think they were counting their winnings, those that had backed Admiralty Arch, and they were cashing in already, almost. But Iron Tail grabbed them right on the line. It was stiff last time out, and they put Pierre Stradum. You heard the comments of Baron Buerter about Pierre. He just thinks he's a god in the saddle. And therefore,
so do I.
They'll leave it up to him. Yeah, so do I too. But the point is that, he's got to have an outstanding chance, Admiralty Arch. Strangely enough, I thought Coca Hill would be my first choice, actually.
Fair enough, it's best weighted.
Correct, Pillar Sundam Corley. The other one I quite liked was Silvery Blue. I didn't want to let that run loose today. Again, Mariba rides for the Fortunes. I thought that she was handily in the race too, so she's at 8 to 1. But like you, Great Times, Admiralty Arch, 3 and 4, Silvery Blue, Coco Hill. I just had the sense that the winner would come from one of those, but I'm tipping Coco Hill, I think, to beat your Admiralty Arch. Maybe the coffee on that?
There's our coffee.
There's our coffee. Okay.
Got it.
So I'm on Coco Hill. You're on Admiralty Arch there.
Lyall for Nico 8. Got it.
Okay, that's it. Okay, so that's the 7th race, the classified stakes, which is the penultimate race on the day. We'll go to race number 8. And there was one other thing I just wanted to mention here, just very quickly, Lyall, very, very quickly.
Yes.
And this is a point to note, which I wanted to make clear. I like Back to Basics in the previous race. Now, if Back to Basics wins, right?
Yes.
Then great times in the next race. If we look at the form line of Corvette Captain, has to be a massive, massive runner. Then that would probably elevate to my first choice late.
Good.
Back to Basics goes close to winning, because you know that there was only a neck between them the previous time. If Back to Basics, you know, they obviously split this race because there's 2 classified stakes, so they split it because there was such a big field for one race. So if Back to Basics was running with Great Times, okay, Great Times would have to give Back to Basics 6 kilos.
Yeah.
And therefore Back to Basics would cruise past Great Times. So if Back to Basics wins, in fact, I'll take a speculative bet. Back to Basics, Great Times double, just in case. Back to Basics.
I don't hate it, Nico. Great Times does hold Silvery Blue in the penultimate as well. So I'm with you. It's a big run at Great Times.
Yeah. So I would maybe take that speculative bet, going on the Corvette Captain form line and saying that if one wins, the other's a massive runner too. Okay, we're moving on to the last race of the day. 16:35 is the off time of the last. It's a middle stakes. Again, distance change, 1,450 meters. And in race 8, you can scratch number 2, Sir Michael. Number 10, Wolf's World, is now the mount of Julius Mariba. He picks up the ride. Other changes, 4 Nordic Rebel and 13 Golden Aspen. Both have compression masks and no cheek pieces for number 9. Let's do it. Well, let's do it over here. Let's have a look at the betting, see what's going on here. There's been money for Little Prince, now racing out of a new yard for Fabian Habit from 10 to 1 to 11 to 2. That's definitely the money. Also, you've got Duke of Sussex, Gallic Tribe at 9 to 2. And then you're going to 7 to 1 about Call Me Marston, 8 to 1 about Mo Jive here. What's your feeling in the last?
Well, this race changed considerably for me with the changing of the track. I thought number 11 was a massive runner, and now he's got a massively horrible draw. Number 8, Wakwas, would have been a massive runner, and now he might not be such a massive runner. He loves the straight course. So I've ended up with number 7 as my first selection, and that is Gaelic Tribe. I know you and I often agree, so you're probably going to agree with me. Cabello Matanyani, Brett Crawford, I think this is going to run really well here. I see Grant Knowles and all the other owners have brought him here, and I think he'll have a nice career here. Number 7, Gaelic Tribe, big runner. I'm still going to put in number 11, Call Me Master, because although he's drawn literally in the bushes, I think if Muzi can work some magic, he'll be there and thereabouts. And then
just quickly, his stat. If you look jockey and horse.
Yes.
Muzi's ridden him 12 times, yet to run out of the first 4 in 12 runs.
There we go.
So
there we go.
Good 12 stat. Out of 12, eh?
In fact, if Call Me Master was drawn, say, under 6, I'd tip him first. I think he's a massive runner. And then I've got to mention Duke of Sussex from that draw. Obviously, will play a big part, particularly from that draw. And one other, Nico. I'm going to leave him out. I was going to say Wakwas. I'd rather go for one of those money horses, either or Mo Jive.
Okay, I've got a bit to say on this race. I just want to quickly tell you about Duke of Sussex, right? Now, Duke of Sussex has had 4 runs at the Classic course and has had 4 wins at the Classic course. So has not been beaten at this track in 4 starts. So that, and just drawn 1. Now, when I saw the track change and this horse running, this horse is married to the Classic track, unbeaten. It's 4.5 to 1. I'd be having a bit of a dart at the 4.5, 5 to 1 early on a Tuesday morning. You can get some juicy 5 to 1 about that. So that is my first choice. However, Gallic Tribe, as you mentioned, Gallic Tribe has to have a chance on the Cape Town form. Now, there's another interesting horse over here, and I actually phoned Fani Bronkhorst early this morning. With the change of track and the change of distance and the conditions of the race, number 12, Mo Jive, should be carrying only 50 kilos. Now, I'm not sure whether there's going to be an adjustment to the weights or whether the horse will be scratched or what will happen with Mo Jive. But according to the weight structure, Mo Jive should be carrying 50. If it does change to 50, it brings it into the race. If it's on 52, it's probably a couple of kilos out. So I wanted to mention Mo Jive. I wanted to mention Bloomington, also not particularly drawn well, but gets apprentice
Yes.
Joshua and Solomon's abroad. For me, I'm saying it's Duke of Sussex or any one of those. Little Prince, Nordic Rebel, your Call Me Master,
Gaelic Tribe,
and Gaelic Tribe, and all of those. But I'm going on the fact that this horse, Duke of Sussex, is unbeaten on the classic track in 4 starts.
Can you imagine Lucky Udelakis when he saw the course change? He probably did a few thick flaps there in his lounge.
Did a few Zorba the Greek dances. He did the
yeah, probably.
Yeah. He did the Zorba the Greek. So that basically wraps up that race over there, Lyall, and that will take care of it. For me, I agree. I think your horse has got a chance, but I think it's got to beat Duke of Sussex with the course change. Well, we've only got 5 minutes of show left. Your last comment?
I think your horse has got a chance, but it's got to beat the Gaelic Tribe.
Yeah. Okay, so that will bring to an end today's show. Lyall will battle with his hay fever and will be out at the Vaal today. I know that you're presenting with Alistair, so we're looking forward to hearing whether your selections differ from the mornings.
Well, I'm actually feeling a bit worse now. I'm getting worse as we're going on here, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I hope it is not just coming out.
Maybe Alistair will do a bit more work than he
I think so.
Doing today. Okay.
He might be doing a lot more.
Lyall, great. And just to let people know that came on board our direct line, which has worked very successfully well over the last weekend, that because there was no racing yesterday, today the punters will enjoy our full selections in our tipping sheet, which will come to them a bit later on this morning. Thanks very much, Lyall. Appreciate your time as always. I hope you feel better as the day progresses. This has been the Tuesday coverage of racing in Gauteng today. And Lyall, let's hope that we're right more than wrong.
Thank you, Nico.
Thanks a lot.